out. It's been a tiring few days. I'm on these ridiculously nasty knock yourself out painkillers. So anyway, things are. I'm so tired, but I'm a soldier. So while I wait for you to join, if you're looking for ways to support everything that I do, and I think you should, because I think over the last week we've proven that I was right and everybody else was wrong. But anyway, while we're waiting for you, here's a bit of this. Okay, let's talk about toilets. Why not? Let's talk about toilets. Let's talk about my experience last night. I went to the Redgrave Theatre in Bristol. It's a very small theatre. It seats about 350 people. It's a community theatre. I think it's owned by Clifton College, which is an elite private school. Only the very rich people manage to get in there because their scholarships mean you still have to be pretty well off. So it's a proper I think it used to be boys only, not sure if it still is. But there's a lot of Russian and Chinese there, let's just say that. Anyway, I know it's lovely, isn't it? It's a lovely little theatre, said Radical Cartoons. However, it's a comedy show. It's Gary Delaney. I'm not expecting it to be particularly woke. It's an audience of about 60-40 male to female. And I quite like Gary Delaney. I'm sure he said some things that I should detest, but anyway, he's quite funny, and that's kind of what I want from comedy. I don't know. I'm old fashioned. So just before the thing starts, I'm like, well, it's never a good idea to go to the toilet halfway through a comedy thing. It's never a good idea anyway, because it often puts performers off and it's quite rude. So I thought, well, I'd quickly go to the loo, and I go in the loo, and it's 3 cubicles. It's not a particularly fancy toilet at all. Women in the queue, everybody patient. There's always that look, as us women know, that look of kind of like, oh, always queues. Like, it's a bit like the weather. Women toilet queues. We all have the same conversations. It's oh, that one doesn't flush, or all that stuff. Anyway, so all that's going on, and there's excuse me hand dryer, and it's all polite, and it's a very female. It's a very female thing, and I think we take those spaces for granted, where there's older women, younger women, and we are. There's a sort of a bit of a thing that if someone came in with a very small child, crossing her legs, desperate for the loo, that we would probably let that person go to the front. Or if a pregnant woman came in, we would probably let that woman go to the front of the queue. Or if there's somebody with a walking frame or whatever, and there's not, it's just a polite, nice female place, isn't it? Isn't it? I think we forget. And I went in, and I can't tell you that I noticed whether or not the doors or the walls or anything went all the way down to the sides, because we're not America. And in America, and in where else? In Ireland, I noticed they don't seem to be able to afford to actually build a wall to the floor, or a door to the floor. And I think that Ireland seems to have toilets a little bit more than America. Anyway, I digress. So I'd done that. Oh, just miraculous. Wonderful. Managed to do it. Oh my God, it was so easy. And then we watched the first half, and then my husband's in the queue to the bar. And I say, oh, I'll go now, because if I try and leave it to the end, the women's queue's massive. Go back to the women's toilet. 2 men in there. Like, I'm not talking pretending to be women, men. I'm talking men. I'm talking men that clearly had come with their wives, men. I'm talking like I'm reading fully heterosexual, boring, dull, run of the mill men, just men in the toilets. And someone comes in, and I'm a bit like, and I was thinking, well, is there only one toilet? Like, why are they here? Is there only one toilet? Is that what's really going on? Um, like, anyway, before that, whilst I'm having this tiny conversation with myself, somebody comes in after and goes, "Oh, this is a women's toilet," and somebody else in front, and I can't tell you who because at this point I'm a bit like, "What? What?" Somebody says unisex, and so I then go and look on the door, and lo and behold, there's a male and female sign, and I'm thinking, well, is it small enough that they've just amalgamated them, or like what the hell is going on? And I'm a bit pissed off, and you can see other women are uncomfortable with these two bog stand in the queue, right? A couple of women are uncomfortable. Nobody's saying anything except me, and the woman behind sort of makes, "Oh, I hope they put the toilet seat down" joke. And then I start saying, "Who wants this? No one wants this. I'm sure you don't want to be here," I say to these men, and I don't want you here. And there's not a single woman that said, "Oh, let's make our toilets unisex," right? That's that's the conversation, right? Anyway, so I get in the toilet, and I'm using the same toilet as I used the last time, which is the middle of the three. And then I'm noticing when I get in there, because obviously, just subconsciously, I am more aware of my surroundings. I'm more aware of whether or not this place is safe and where the vulnerabilities are. I'm not doing this on purpose. I'm not there going, even though I'm really quite cross. I'm not now that then sitting in the toilet going, well, I wonder how they get in, and I blah, blah, blah. I'm not doing any of that. And but I'm looking up, and for the first time, I see the top of the wall, and actually, there's a foot between the top of the wall dividing two of the cubicles and the ceiling. And it's like my husband's not the tallest man in the world. He's about 6 foot. But I know that if my husband was in that room, he could stand on the toilet, or he could just put his phone hand up, and he could have taken a picture over over the toilet cubicle. Right. And so now I'm annoyed. Now I'm seriously annoyed. Like it's ruined my evening annoyed. And I come out and I say to my husband, and he said, "Well," he said, "Well, that one's clearly men's because look at the number of men queuing from it. So they're the men's, and they've just redone the women's, and they also have a disability and a baby change toilet." And so now I'm I'm so I'm so cross. I'm so cross. I can't tell you. It's like it's really beginning to make any joke that I've heard unfunny. And it's really beginning to ruin my evening because I'm thinking, like, what? Like, I'm literally paying money. I'm supporting a venue that couldn't care less about my rights. Um, and I'm really, really cross. And I'm thinking, what if I was the only woman in that toilet? I went to the only toilet that I can use, and I'm the only woman in the queue. Or what if I'm 15 and I'm the only female in the queue, and there's like men aged, I don't know, 18 to 60. There's a queue of 6 men and 1 woman in that only that single sex toilet. That sorry, unisex toilet. What if I'm the only woman? How am I feeling then? Am I even going to want to go to the toilet? Would I even wanna go in the toilets if I'm the only woman? I wouldn't wanna do it, and I'm 49, and I'm pretty, like, confident. I really do. I have my wits about me. I'm a very confident woman. I can certainly say how I feel about stuff. I certainly know my rights. I'm very clear about my boundaries, but I'm telling you, if I was the only woman in that queue, even with my I would have either got my husband to come with me, so I would have felt a little bit safer, or I probably wouldn't have gone to the toilet. I really don't think I would have gone to the toilet. And how would I feel if I'm 18 and all the other people in that queue are 18-year-old boys or 60-year-old men or whatever? Like, how am I going to feel if I don't have the confidence of my years, or if I don't have this particular sort of relatively confrontational personality? How am I going to feel then? Am I going to feel that I can go to that place knowing that at any time I could be in a vulnerable situation, not in public, but in public. So not in the open public, but in a public place where any man can go, and I could be in there with lots of men. And so even if I make it into the toilet on my own, when I come out of that unisex toilet, there could just be me and 5, 10, 12, 20, whatever men, however many men could fit in that space. Anyway, and my husband uses the loo. And he says, "Oh no, that one's unisex too." So obviously this venue, big enough to have male and female toilets, have obviously repurposed both to be unisex for who, people, who? Not us, not women. And I think what's happened is they've taken the urinal out of this unisex toilet that used to be men's. They've taken the urinal out. So I think the men have ended up with 1 or 2 cubicles for them to go to the toilet. Women have 3 cubicles, and it's a 60-40 split on the number of men in that room that night. So for once, there was a big queue of men. And 2 of those men decided, "Oh, I'm not going in that queue. I'm gonna go in with the women," because those men couldn't give a shit about how women feel. They could have been stood behind somebody who had been raped, and they wouldn't care. They could have been they could have been in a position where they made women uncomfortable, which they did, and they didn't care. So that's what we're talking about. We're not really just talking about whether or not I'm gonna get raped, whether or not you're gonna get raped, whether or not you've been raped. We're not talking about whether or not a man is gonna pin you in a toilet and sexually assault you, although that's always somewhere in the back of our minds. Not actually just talking about that, are we? We're talking about regular men, let alone the men that get sexually aroused by making you unhappy and uncomfortable. Not just talking about that. We're not talking about those men that just invade every single woman's space. We're talking about the fact that so many ordinary men couldn't care less about how you feel. And then when I was going back into the place, this woman said to her husband, "Why don't you go in that one, love? There's no queue." And he said, "Well, that's where the women have mostly used that." And let's not forget, let me just say, let's not forget that most of the men, despite the queues, queued in one toilet. Most of the men were more comfortable just to use a single sex toilet. So this is not about all men. This is about enough men. This is talking about enough men that don't give a shit about how women feel about those men coming into our spaces, making us feel uncomfortable, or coming into spaces where they would make us feel uncomfortable. It's the same reason that even if you're sat on a bus with loads of empty seats, some men will come and sit next to you. It's the same reason as when I've been on a train and I had a table in a practically empty carriage, that some man will come and sit next to me. And I'm very lucky that when it's happened, other men have stepped in. But this is what this argument is about. It's not just about the perverts. It's not just about dodgy, pervy men, obsessive men who send dirty pictures to women with disabilities. It's not about those dirty perverts who work in situations where women are vulnerable. So whether or not they are glorified mobility scooter drivers, or they carry people around in their fake ambulances. It's not just about those men. It's not just about men that wear nurses' uniforms and fetishize the whole occupation of being a nurse in wards with vulnerable women. It's not just about those men. It's not just about those policemen who we know are AGPs, who wear bad wigs and promote themselves in the police force, and about all the police force kowtowing. It's not just about those men. It's not just about the men that rifle through the bins, the sanitary bins, and stick used tampons at their backsides. It's not just about those men. It's not just about the men that go in and masturbate in our toilets and then wipe semen over places they know will touch. It's not just about those men. It's about every man. It's about any man. It's about any man that feels that he has the right to go in a space where he knows he makes women feel uncomfortable. It's about those 2 men. Last night, are they AGPs? No. Are they perverts? Maybe. Maybe they are. I don't know. Were they visibly perverse? No. Did they give a shit about women? No. Did anyone, other women, say anything? No. If I'd known, I'm telling you right now, had I known that there were 2 choices and that there was a queue of men at the other ones, I would have said something. I would have told those men to leave. I would have. And I absolutely know, and you probably know, that some women would have stuck up for those men. They would have. We know it. Some women would have made me the enemy when I would have said, "Look, you're making some of us feel uncomfortable. I don't want you in here." Definitely would have had some woman say, "I'm not uncomfortable. This is a unisex. I'm not uncomfortable." It's just like just makes me so cross. Just makes me so cross. It really isn't just about extremes, it's about all levels of boundary pushing. It's about all the everything that we value. Like the first time I went in those toilets, I did not notice whether or not the wall went up to the ceiling. I didn't notice whether it was fully enclosed. I do when I'm in bigger toilets. I often think about it when I'm in huge toilets, but as far as I was concerned, I'd seen the women in the toilets. This was like an adult event. I thought I was going into a women's toilet. I don't know how. I think I must have thought it because there were just women in the queue. So I'm always sort of looking to see if there's a man pretending to be a woman. Um, because I think it's always an opportunity to remind that man that he's breaking boundaries and we don't like it. But those 2 regular men, it just made me think that's that's why us women have boundaries, because so many men don't care don't care about them. That we have to be very clear about our boundaries, that it takes somebody like me to say very, very frequently what our boundaries are and hopefully give other women permission to actually police their own boundaries. It takes women like me to say what I will and will not accept, like repeatedly, what I will and will not accept. If I didn't have to do it, I wouldn't be doing it. But I mean, it was so perfect. It was such a perfect example of why female only spaces are so important. It totally changed. There weren't any women talking about the queue. There were no women talking about the queue. There were no women, like, making little bits of small talk or, giving each other looks. There was a few women giving each other looks. I'm sure there was one woman when I sort of said, "Nobody wants this." I'm sure there was one woman giving me a look of like, "I'm not gonna agree. I don't agree with you." It just totally changed that. Suddenly, women were divided into, those of us who wanted to defend the female only space and defend what we hold dear, and some of those are willing to give it away. Now, that isn't normally the case in a women's toilet. There's not normally a divide in a women's toilet. There's not normally a tangible, you can kind of feel it. There's like little tiny expressions, like tiny leakages in the way people feel about something. And we don't normally have to have that in a women's toilet. We just don't. So I don't know what to say to you. It's all of it. It's everyone. Um, KJ, see, I totally think you're wrong here. It's a theatre at fault, mostly, surely. Yes, the theatre is at fault. The men were in a unisex, which is outrageous, but not their fault. Well, most men seem to be totally understanding that there was a men's queue and a women's queue, and most women seem to know there wasn't a single woman in that men's queue. So most of us, because we have etiquette and morals, most of us just divided off into where it was most appropriate for us to go, except these 2 men who didn't mind making women uncomfortable. They just didn't mind. They knew they would. They knew they would. And I know that they knew they would because most men didn't do it. So I just thought it was incredible. And yeah, of course, every single place that switches to unisex toilets is doing that. And I think it's worth remembering when people offer unisex as an option. Those small toilets that are about, say, that they're about half the size of my studio, which is the size of like a garage, right? So those toilets, you had enough room if everybody was jammed in like sardines, you probably had enough room for 10 people to stand in the bit. So you come in, you've got sinks, you've got, or fewer. And so you've got one fully enclosed toilet by accident, not by design. One fully enclosed toilet, two other toilets. The door can shut. So you could have 3 men in a cubicle, 2 men queuing, then a woman, then 2 men. So that could be a lone woman in a place easily with the door closed with 7 men. Easily. Or even 1 man or 2 men with a closed door. Because that's what we're talking about when we're talking about unisex toilets. We're talking about enclosed spaces within an enclosed space. So the possibility of being undetected committing quite a serious crime is greater, isn't it? If we're talking about a woman's toilet, then a man entering that toilet takes the risk of being seen entering a woman's toilet. A man entering a unisex toilet after a woman who maybe he's had his eye on all night, after a woman, or 2 men entering a toilet after a woman in a unisex toilet, they have utter absolute freedom to do that. There is no barrier. And they'll be in a hidden, enclosed, private space. An enclosed private space where they cannot be detected while they do whatever they want with a lone woman in that room, in that toilet. That's what we're talking about. Unisex is not a solution at all to toilets. And let me just say to any men LARPing as women, if you feel afraid and you're in a women's space and you feel afraid because I'm in there, good. I hope it stops you coming in. To any man LARPing as a woman, if you feel afraid of being found out to be a man, which you're none of you pass. But if you're afraid of being in a women's space, good, stay out. I hope you're afraid. I hope it keeps you awake at night. I hope it means that you don't ever go in a women-only space. But I don't believe you're afraid. I believe that's part of your fetish. I believe that's part of the role that you think you should play as a LARPing as a woman. I don't believe that you're afraid. I'm 5'2". Well, on a good day with chunky shoes. But I hope you're afraid. I hope you're really afraid, actually. But I doubt it. I don't think that you'll be half as afraid as I would have been going in that unisex space with only men. I don't think you have any idea, not one of you has any idea of how it feels to be in a female-only space and hear the voice of a man or the footsteps of a man, or the cough, or sense a man in that space. I don't think any of you have any idea how that feels. And I know you seek it because you think it's something that will keep you entertained for 3.5 minutes. We know you seek it. We know it's part of the fetish. We know that you like to wear our fear, our vulnerability, and our bodies as a costume. We know that. But you don't even really get that. You don't even really get our fear because you're not women. And there isn't a tiny little morsel of us that you wear well. So, anyway, if you like what I do, please consider supporting Let Women Speak initiative with the donate 10. I can't do it. It's not even there. I just pretend there. 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 Or look, better still. This is F for female. This is our design. This is unique to us. This is my design. actually. Um, and yeah, it's a gloss. It's glossy. I don't know if you can see it, but it's glossy. It's so beautiful. Um, but there's lots. The Halloween stuff is mind blowing. The stickers are in. They glow. Oh my gosh, the glow is nuts. The glow is totally nuts. So what they are, I don't have one on me, but what they are is by day, the Halloween glow stickers just look like a white definition or a white sticker, and then by night, um, you probably see the black in the day, and at night you see the glow. It's amazing, and the glowing skeleton is nearly sold out. And nothing, then no more are coming in. So if you want that skeleton and you want it for Halloween, it's. Let me see if I've got one to show you. Um, Let me see. It is so gorgeous. It's just nuts. Let me see. If I got a t-shirt. And but the glow in the dark stuff that we've got is crazy. So this is male and female. So obviously they're different skeletons, so they look different. And then the Halloween pin set. Once they're gone, they're gone. We're not getting another set in. We've got some more coming in now because we basically sold out of all of our Halloween stuff. And so we did that really, really quickly. So we knew to order in. But the next lot, that will be it. It will be final. It will be final. But I can't tell you, like the skeleton. I don't know if it's my favorite because the spot I've got. Let me just go through it. So we've got a granite, which is sparkly black witch, and then we've got a black gloss. That's lovely. This is a witch glow in the dark. These are available in t-shirts, long sleeves, and I think that's it. V-neck. We also have a glow in the dark witch definition top. We've got hoodies, etc. And this is my F for female range, which, oh my God, I love so much. This is an oversized hoodie, and this is a small. Look, you may have noticed that some of our hoodies are £60, some are 65, and some are 70. £70 is an oversized hoodie. These probably should be about 80. We've reduced them as much as we possibly can, because oh my God, they are literally look, I do have some nice price clothing upstairs. I do have some nice clothes. I don't have an abundance of clothes, but the stuff I have, some of it is very nice. This is by far the most luxurious item of clothing I own. It's so nuts. It's got 2 pockets. It's got no tie here, but it's a really oversized. So especially for you lovely ladies who look, this is an oversize. So it's just got wider sleeves. You've got with an oversized hoodie, you've got your shoulder things here as opposed to here. So it's not so fitted. But look, you beautiful women who have written to me for a long time saying that we don't cater for you. And it's always been a bane of mine. I don't like the fact that we can't let every single woman join in this campaign and be the billboard. And so we've listened. So we now do a triple XL oversized hoodie and a triple XL unisex hoodie, triple XL t-shirt, on our so the oversized t-shirt, the big scoop t-shirt, that comes in a triple XL and also an extra small. The oversized hoodies and sweatshirts, they both come in triple XL. And this is an oversized and the other one is a unisex. So we have listened because we don't want any woman to think that she can't be the billboard and she isn't included because we include all women. We just don't include men as women. What can I say? Anyway, look, that's all I wanted to say this afternoon. I was just so annoyed. I will see you in Liverpool. I can't actually wait to be in Liverpool. If you haven't been to Liverpool before, let me just say the shopping is crazy. The shopping is great. I can't think why. I went quite a few years ago to Liverpool. I went when we put the billboard up, so that's probably how long I've been, but the shopping is pretty phenomenal in Liverpool, and the women, you Liverpudlian women always like there's there's women that look more made up than I do when I go out or even when I come on here, just like in the middle of the day. I've never seen there in Manchester, I've never seen so many women, young women in rollers ready for their night out. So I'm really looking forward to that. If you can, please come and speak. If you can't speak, please come and listen. It's really important. It's the day one of the Labour Party conference. Um, you know, these politicians, the Tory party have been in for all this time. They're the ones that brought in these policies, let me just say. They've watched over this for 12 years. They have known about this stuff for a very, very long time, or maybe it might be 2015, 8 years, but then if you add their other, like, 4 years with the, coalition, but they have been the, architects of this utter crap. And it's gonna take a long time to unravel it all. Don't think this war is won just because Rishi Sunak, um, just because he says he knows what a woman is. I'm pretty sure he knew what a woman was before. I'm pretty sure Cameron knew what a woman was. Pretty sure that Liz Truss knew what a woman was. Pretty sure Theresa May knew what a woman was. Pretty sure Boris knew what a woman was. And yet, in the schools up and down the country, in theatre venues, which are partly funded by the state and part of the charity sector, in all of these places, they are switching away from safeguarding women in public spaces like toilets. And so, I'm sorry, boys, it's a bit too little and very much too late. Look, if you can come to Liverpool and you can stand to be counted, then I promise we will win. If you can summon the courage to speak, tell your story, to say no when you mean no, then I promise we will win. And do you know why else we're going to win? Because I never lose.